Okay, meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Hey, everybody, if we're live, here we are.
We are live on YouTube and I am happy. How are you doing this morning?
I'm laughing because you just totally cracked me up right before we came on. I'm doing great. I'm a little froggy today, so I might have to clear my throat. It's now streaming live on YouTube.
Okay,
hey,
so hang on a second.
Live,
I got that. The same thing happens with the same thing that happens with Facebook happens right here on YouTube. So I had to mute that so I could watch to see if anybody
is commenting.
So thank you guys. This is our very first attempt at live YouTube through Zoom.
Yeah.
So welcome. Rosie and I are excited to have you. And we are, it's such a miracle of, I can't believe we're already at the end of the year, that we're even having this conversation of solstice. How about you?
It's this year has just flown. It has flown. And every single month I've said the same thing. Oh my God, are we already in? It's flown. And they say that happens as you get older, but boy, this has, even little kids have said to me, golly, it's already Halloween. It's like when little kids notice it, it's flying.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I have to say, I woke up this morning and I wanted to face plant back into bed. I just wanted.
So did I.
I know that we have seen some really interesting things going on around the center. We've seen some people's reactions that they're really struggling. They've got health issues, they got mind issues, they got all these things that are going on.
Well, and nationally, I was reading an article the other day about the Great Resignation. Like all of these people are resigning from their jobs because they're rethinking what they do. And it's interesting to me because I think it's an after effect of COVID, though COVID is still in play, but people have had some downtime to rethink what they're doing with their lives and making changes. So change is a good thing.
I think so too. I felt like, well, I can talk with you because you experienced it with me, but we were sitting there in the center and I've been feeling spirit really active around me.
Yeah.
And when the dancers came in, it was,
that was wild. Yeah.
It was a blessing to clear out some of the frustrations that people have, some of their struggles. And I think that's why we really look at doing a solstice ritual.
Right.
Is to settle the energy. And I think this one's going to be
this one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, this last 3 weeks of the year is make everybody want to face plant back into bed.
Yeah, we had a really good psychic healing there yesterday. The center was really, really busy. And then the dancers came in. We're speaking spiritual, invisible dancers.
Well, talking about why it was Navajo, and I got to tell you, you and I both come from Gallup.
Yeah.
So we're, very well versed with Navajo, Hopi, Zuni, Laguna, all the different tribes in the Southwest, and know lots of people. But it was, I felt like it was such a blessing. I could feel the energy. I could feel the dance. I could feel the movement. I could feel the beating of the drums. It was, and I know you talked about it. What was your experience?
Pretty much the same. And then it was so interesting that after that occurred, Jenny Blackcoat showed up. A longtime friend. And it's like, he sent him in front of them to clear the space. He was coming and they drove in from Winslow.
I think it was just for that. I thought about that and I thought, did they come in for him to clear the space?
Well, he's sort of magical. He has some interesting things happen around him.
Well, I kind of think that, it was it was actually for the center so that he would enjoy the space a little more.
Oh, could have been. Could
So
have
that
been.
it was because he's a teacher.
Yeah, he is. And he taught Navajo language and Navajo culture for many, many, many years in Flagstaff. And he was an itinerant teacher at the different schools, and he went around and taught Navajo language and Navajo
asked him,
culture.
he says, well, I'll talk to Rosie.
He's never retired. He likes being retired.
He does, but he also likes to teach. And I recognized him as a teacher right away. So it was really pretty cool. I wanted to have him, I want him to come teach because we need people who know how to connect to the earth. You know, we've talked about these different rituals, and we'll get to the one for the solstice. But you and I have talked about new moon rituals. Sorry. We've talked about full moon circles. People do not know how to connect to earth. You know, they're doing rituals. They want to get stoned on peyote, or they want to get wasted on alcohol, and they're utilizing things outside themselves to create an altered state.
Yeah.
And he could teach them to stop it.
Yeah. Well, actually, he really could.
Right.
He really could on a very personal level.
Right. Because the worst possible thing that people are doing is they're trying to have rituals to raise themselves in consciousness. But hey, let's have a glass of wine before we start. Let's have a glass of wine and smoke a joint after we're done. And it's like, that's not how you do the altered state. You really need to meditate. You really need to connect to source. You need to connect to the earth.
Well, and I think that there are certain groups of people, for example, a shamanic way of doing a journey in an altered state is using ayahuasca, which is a blend of different herbs for this tea that creates psychotropic effects, but it's always done under the supervision of a shaman. And it's very, very different than let's get drunk and let's do a seance or something like that.
You're absolutely correct. But I've noticed there's 6-week shaman courses.
Yeah.
And those are the shamans who are watching over people while they do the ayahuasca tea.
Yeah.
And that
sometimes the real deal if you're lucky.
Well,
but yeah, I've had friends who've traveled down to Peru to meet with shaman to do that, and gone into the Amazon to meet with shaman to do those activities. But they've made this commitment, and it's over a very long period of time, and it's not this fly by night kind of stuff that you see. Well, but one of my friends calls what you were just talking about working with a plastic shaman.
I'm talking about some of the people that I've seen around town offering this as a healing journey, when I happen to know that they are not lifelong practitioners. They took a 6-week course, and you know, what they're doing with the ayahuasca, the herbs aren't pure, they're not blessed, there's a lot more that goes into these experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and you can have the same experience if you raise yourself in consciousness. You can have the same experience. I was listening to a recording this morning where this gentleman talked about how he had to write with his left hand to talk about his childhood, and he just cried and cried and cried and cried and all this stuff. He goes, he cried, but he still didn't feel like it resolved. And I think, well, that could be something. That could be, you know, we try many ways to bring healing to our bodies, to our mind, and to our spirits. We just have to find the right people to guide us through the process.
That's true.
So I got to tell you, what are you going to do for solstice after all this hullabaloo? Do you have anything?
Well, I got a really nice email from Shaman Jean, my teacher, and she's doing a fire ceremony on the 19th, I believe. So she wants to do it early. She feels like the energy is still okay to do it, but she knows that people are really, really busy this time of year. So I have my calendar is just totally insane. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend that. But my plans for the night of the solstice is I'm going to turn off all of the electronics, no phones, no computers, no interference with everything. All the electricity is going to be, lights are going to be off. I'm going to be in candlelight, and I'm going to spend some time in review of the past year and meditation and the concept of welcoming, because that's the longest night and the shortest day. And then the next day, we immediately start getting, the days get longer again, and it's return of light. So I'm going to celebrate the concept, the metaphorical concept of light and the spiritual concept of light, all of the aspects of that, and do some introspection of the light within are my plans.
That's really good. I Halloween did not burn my sigils.
Oh, I did mine. I burned mine. Yeah. So are you going to do yours on?
I'm going to do it on the solstice. I'm going to thank them for the work that they've done for me.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of fun or funny. The next day I get real busy. Family comes in and everything else. So,
right.
So for me, I think I'm going to make an offering to my ancestors.
Oh, nice.
Thank them for the work that they've been doing with me the past year. It's funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's people just don't realize that the solstice is not just a pagan thing or a Wiccan thing. There are many cultures that celebrate this time of the year because the harvest is in and it's time to let the land rest and to recover and to, be prepared to bring forth more energy come spring, food and water. And it's now our time that we have to put everything to rest. So that's kind of what I'll be doing is really kind of like you're doing, reviewing what needs to be put to rest and making that commitment to what I want to start looking at for my future.
Excellent.
Sounds good. We know that it comes in on Tuesday, December 21st at 2:58 p.m., which will be at the center when the actual solstice comes in.
Right.
So we should plan something, get the singing bowls out and do a meditation at that time.
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
It's do our own little ceremony with enlightenment.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to join, they can come to Resonant Essentials in Albuquerque.
What time are we going to start at 2?
Yeah, the ritual is at 2:58. It starts at 2:58. So I figure if they come in about 2:15 to get situated, and we've got our little fake fireplace that I got. It's really
yeah, right.
put the lights around, and we will really bring in the solstice in a different way. So do you find any other people's rituals to be of interest?
Well, there's so many, it's an ancient thing, and every culture has their way of celebrating. Of course, down under, they're getting ready to celebrate the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. So when we're doing our winter solstice and they're doing their summer solstice, so it varies depending on where you are on the planet, which whether you're celebrating and experiencing the shortest day or the longest day, but it all is about review and acceptance of the return of light, or the longest, most important day length of light, and how that is the outer reflects the inner reflects the outer. So with being that we're in the Southwest, you had a thing that you were talking about, the Hopis way that they celebrate. And I was not, I know that all the tribes do different things, but I wasn't familiar with the Hopi celebration. So I'm going to look at what you sent me.
Well, I think it's important that everybody recognizes there's traditions all over the world.
All over the planet, yeah.
The Hopis do a really, I'm partial to Hopi and Navajo. Okay.
Well, that's who we know the best because we lived closest to the Hopi and the Navajo.
Absolutely. So they celebrate as a part of their religious tradition, honoring Kachina or Katsina, which are the ancestral spirits representing the natural world. So during the solstice ceremony, which is held by a tribal chief, the sun is welcomed back to its summer path with ritual dances, gift giving to children, prayers for the coming year, singing and storytelling are also part of the festival. Prayer sticks and kachina dolls are often made in preparation for the celebration. And I think, how fun to be part of a community. I miss having that kind of community that I used to have.
Yeah.
It was doing these things. It was everybody chipped in and prepared.
Yeah. My dad was raised out at Tuba City, which is on the Navajo reservation in Arizona. Well, the Navajo reservation actually spans Arizona, New Mexico, and goes up a little bit into Utah. And so he was very, very well aware of all of these celebrations. And I remember going out to one of the mesas. He would be invited by some of the people who lived on one of the mesas, and we would go out and watch and participate. And then the Zuni, they have a lot of stuff going on in December. They do the Shalako dances.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I had the wonderful opportunity to live in Japan for a couple of years. I lived overseas for 10 years teaching. And so the Japanese have a celebration called Toji, Toji, where they eat special foods. One of the things that they like to eat is kobacha, which is a kind of it's like a bitter melon. It's really a form of squash, and they prepare that and they eat that. And then of course they're very cleansing and cleaning is very ritualistic for them. They have the beautiful baths, and before you ever get in the baths, there's usually a woman. You have to sit on this little tiny stool, and she gets you all wet. You're stark naked, and she scrubs you with the thing like a loofah, and you feel like you don't have any skin left by the time she's done cleaning you off, because going into the bath is for relaxation. So you go into the bath clean, and but there's a lot of special herbs and things used in the bath at this time of year. So yeah, every culture has their way of celebrating.
I'm going to say this, and probably people won't like how I say this, and I feel bad, kind of. Not really. That's part of the wicked and nice diva of Swanda. We don't live where our culture is from. So we have lost much of our heritage. And there's a real struggle, I think, nowadays for people, because there's a lot of cultural appropriation. Because we remember being Native American, we remember being Asian, we remember having these other lives somewhere within us, but the need to complete and to honor that, the solstice, and to connect to that, we weren't raised with it. I mean, it was Christianity kind of wiped the floor with many of the white America. And they taught white America that, to do away with those rituals. I talked to a Catholic priest once, and he said absolutely that the Catholicism took the different holidays of pagan rituals, which is the Celtic rituals, that they're considered pagan. So that's my heritage. Part of me is Italian, and the other part of me is got leanings in England and Ireland and Scotland. And so, not being raised there, I don't have the ability to understand the rituals that were done there. So I've had to try to learn and do it by myself. Yeah. It's not as fulfilling as a community of your culture. That's true. And I know that white people took it away from many cultures. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to stick up for white people in that regard. That's an atrocity when you take away people's cultural traditions. It's horrible. But I think that there's a lot of people out there who struggle with trying to create a ritual for themselves that makes them feel connected. So they spend it alone. Like you and I, we're going to be in our respective homes instead of, doing these things together.
Well, and back to the concept of appropriating celebrations and different aspects of different cultures. One of the things that has happened throughout time, that the invading body of people coming into a new area oftentimes use the indigenous people celebrations, and especially where missionaries were concerned, took a celebration that was part of a time-honored tradition within a culture, and they changed it into did it around a holy day, changed it around so that they could incorporate it into whatever their belief systems were, because then what happened is people were going to be celebrating anyway, so they just shifted the tone of it and
took it as theirs. And so much, one of the things that I have to applaud many indigenous people for is they kept their culture.
Yeah.
It was one of the best books that I've read. I've got it right here in my Kindle. It's The Secrets of America, and it was by Manly P. Hall. And one of the things that I liked about reading this book is that it took away the power of our perceived Congress and Senate. And they really gave a good talk. I'm trying to turn on my Kindle so I can get the actual name of the book. One of the things was about going in and understanding that the Constitution of the United States came from the Iroquois Nation. And people don't know that. So while they're busy fighting on Facebook about constitutional law and about this is the way the forefathers thought it should be, they're taking it. They really need to listen to this book, because democracy was taken and established from a true democracy, which is the Iroquois. And nowhere in the Iroquois Nation did they say treat your women and children like poo, and nor does it say go out there and run over the tops of other tribes and other cultures and make them succumb to your belief system. And it's a really good book. And it's quite long. It's I have it on Audible. I think it's 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to.
Can you hear my heater?
I can.
It is, I have this old heater in my house. And when it comes on, it makes all these clicky noises and then it warms up the place. And then it goes off and it makes all these clicking noises. So I'm sorry. Well, next time we do this, I'll do it in a different room.
Yeah. We're just getting used to it.
Yeah.
The secret. It's like not bringing it. I'm struggling here. It's the secret history of America by Manly P. Hall. The Secret History of America. It's and it talks about American Indian ritualism. Now, Manly P. Hall was a really smart man, super smart. And he was very clear about all the different he was very clear in his metaphysical beingness of bringing truth and not tolerating the whitewashed truth and the patriarchal truth, because it doesn't help us if we don't acknowledge that we have suppressed people. That's not where we're at with our great awakening,
Yeah.
It's,
They talk about America being a democracy, but it's never been a democracy. That's always been a catchphrase. That when the colonials came over, the only people who were allowed to have any say in governance were white, rich men. If you were a poor white man, if you were a person of color, or if you were a woman, you didn't have anything to say about it. So it's never been a democracy. And our government is still full of a bunch of white rich men who are trying to tell women what they can do with their bodies. And
did you hear that got knocked down, by the way?
Oh, good. Yeah, I can't watch the news anymore because I go into a deep depression. I really do. I get really depressed.
I read it. They knocked down the law in Texas as unconstitutional for abortion law. So he cited different precedents, and that'll help with everything else. But it's not whether or not you believe a child should be born or not. It's not about what we've failed to understand is we need to learn to mind our own business to our own spiritual growth and let others to theirs. No, we shouldn't let people run around raping and marauding and killing. But we have to acknowledge that it was done and make amends. We need to find a way to bring it all into peace. Spirit, my spirit team, they're multi-raced.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's how they present, but actually they're just beings of light in the reality of, but the way we interpret them.
What I'm saying is they're sharing the world that I shared with them. This is where, and it could be even some of them are me from a past life.
You never know.
The ones that I have, it's like I'm very blessed because they know so much about healing and medicine. And, if we but let them guide us to a higher state of consciousness, we might get this world whipped back into shape. What do you think?
I think that's a tall order, and I can only hope. I think that as a species, many of us are lost. I'm hoping that more of us are not lost, so that we can be way showers and help. But I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go off onto one of my tirades.
That's what this is about. This is what you and me talking is about. It's about saying, hey, there's a lot of things about a lot of cultures I had absolutely no idea, and acknowledging the fact that a lot of history was whitewashed. If we can't admit it, then what happens? Then we keep stuffing it under the table for other people to not admit it. And that's why we're here, is we want to talk about spiritual progression through acknowledging the connection that we have as the one beautiful spiritual being to another.
Yeah.
It's
well, and I feel like that's why COVID came in, was to force us to slow down, to stop. We were brought to a screeching halt. We had to stop, and we were isolated. And so we were stuck with ourselves, and a lot of people, I think, did some serious thinking when all of a sudden they had the time to do it. And they were forced to step out of the rat race. So I know I've had a lot of people tell me things like this was a curse and a blessing, because it's been really rough, but they've done a lot of rethinking, and they're seeing things differently, which is good. They're seeing things in a more enlightened way.
Well, I was listening to Michael Rhodes this morning, and it was one of his and Carolyn's videos that they did. And one of the things that really was kind of that connection for all the different things is that a lot of us know that we're here working to bring forth this level of higher awareness. And we're dealing with people who are angry because their voices aren't being heard the way they want it to be heard. And sometimes you get to just cut it off and say, from this moment forward, we're going to bring forth higher awareness by opening up to unconditional love. And I told you, you and I've talked so many times. We have such great conversations, which is why I picked you for this, because when I'm heading down a path, you're able to go, wait a minute, Michelle, maybe it's not like that. You're not going to just agree with me. So I appreciate and thank you for
Well,
that.
and you do the same with me. So it's like,
yeah, it makes for good conversation. But it's one of those things that we have to, we struggle because nobody wants to. I've had that experience of having unconditional love, and I love that feeling. I love that sense of peace. And if we can get there through saying, I consciously choose unconditional love and trust in myself, if we can get there by doing the meditations, if we can get there by sitting with each other in integrity and honor, and shut our mouths and hear somebody else's stories about what happened in their culture. And they're not looking for me as an individual to apologize. They're looking for me as an individual to hear them, to acknowledge that they're not. One of the hardest things is, and yes, to provide that is an apology. If you allow them to express it and you believe in them and you love them still, that helps to open the door for healing. But I think it helps us to heal us too, because we were those cultures. We experienced those things. So if we love somebody through their healing, we're loving ourselves through the same healing. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you learn when you study. Most shamanic practices say you heal yourself and you heal the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true. I want to go back and say something that really cracks me up about Michael J. Rhodes. when when he talks about unconditional love, that's a really hard place to get to. It's a really difficult place to get to, especially if you're driving in Albuquerque. It's really hard to be unconditionally loving. But one of the things that he makes me laugh so hard when he says, if you can't get there, pretend. Just pretend. Pretend. And I thought, here's this guy, he's been a spiritual leader for 30 years. He's very enlightened, but he's still grounded enough to know that there's certain things that aren't easy. And so he says, just pretend. Eventually it'll become automatic and you'll get there, but just pretend.
I think that's absolutely true. I think it's absolutely true. It's fake it till you make it. I go through and I get a little frustrated, I think, because I think I have to have it. I have to do it this way right now.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not as easy as I'd like it to be. So yeah, fake it till you make
Never
it.
is. Well, and he says, and I know this from being a hypnotherapist, is that the subconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So that's why you can do things like practice your golf swing, visualize doing your golf swing perfectly, and pretty soon you do it perfectly because you visualized it enough. Your body believes that you can do it perfectly, so you do. And so the the pretending that you're unconditionally loving, eventually that whole subconscious thing takes over and doesn't know what's real and what isn't, because if it's imagined, it's real. And so it helps bring it in. And he actually talked about that in one of his lectures. So yeah, but I just thought that's that's when somebody says how, he says pretend.
But that's and I get that, because remember when he was talking about doing the abundance and
right. Oh yeah.
With the money. Okay.
Yeah.
Put the money around the house.
That's so fun.
What he's saying is that your subconscious mind believes the patterns.
Yes.
You grew up with, but your conscious mind can give it a new programming, can up the game. So even with the solstice and the rituals and how to make it work for ourselves, we should be instilling some of these belief patterns to start creating while we're at rest and the days start to get longer. Like, I am so excited every year for the solstice, because from that moment on, the days are getting longer. So I do like happy dance. I get so sad October 31st. And on March 1st, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. But it's really, for me, it's about, it is fake it till you make it. Because sometimes, you're sitting there going and you're looking and you're thinking, I got nothing. This has frustrated me. I had to write in my class, my writing class that I'm taking. I had to write some stuff and it was really hard for me to get it going. So I had to fake it till I made it. And I had to go through and delete a whole bunch of stuff, but that's okay. I did it, because you have to fake being in that space to do the things that you have to do.
Sure.
Right. He's funny. I love him to death.
Love him to life.
Well, because you know what? Here's this man. He's 84 years old. Okay.
He looks great too. Well, he doesn't look like he's 84.
No, not at all. And the thing is that he gets out there, he enjoys his life, he enjoys his wife, but he's there to teach. I find that people want to stay stuck. Those are the ones that don't want to listen to somebody teach.
Well, change is hard. And when people delve into something like that and it suggests a change, we're creatures of habit. We are pattern driven, and change is a scary thing for most of us because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah, but
And
we're at that point right now that change is a must.
oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
I mean, I get that it's hard. Good God, I woke
Yeah,
up
it
one
is
day and my
hard,
life
sure.
had completely changed from everything that I knew it to be. And I had to re-struggle finding a new pattern of my life. So for me, it's the dark night of the soul that you go through. We all have to do it. If we hope to raise, heal, if we hope to change our life, I do not want to be stuck. Let me qualify that. I really enjoyed sitting home during the pandemic and working from home. Don't misunderstand.
Yeah.
However,
Mm-mm.
I want my staying home and working to be a choice, not a mandatory thing. So I want the whole concept of me accepting the changes in the world to be one of accepting if there's another shutdown, it will be my choice. It will be my understanding of my choice that I can enjoy this. It's my choice how to accept it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that change
Mm-mm.
can be dealt with if we just choose to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, you flew all over the world teaching and working and experiencing life, you little Sagittarius, you.
Well, yeah, that's a sad thing. And you know what? With change, I'm usually okay with change because of being a Sag. If I can just look at it as the next big adventure, then it's like, okay, I'll stick my toe in that water. I'll wade in and see what it is. But for most of us, it is really, really tough. It's really, really tough, especially if you're really comfortable where you are. You know there needs to be a change, but you don't know what to expect. And so
And
that can
fake
be
it.
really,
Just
yeah, you gotta fake it.
fake
It can be really, really scary. I know that my sister has a really, really hard time with change. It's very, 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 very difficult for her. And I can understand why.
Oh, I totally understand. I totally respect that.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming in time to our closing. I wanted to laugh because I sent you one other thing. It says, what should you do for your winter solstice
Mhm.
for a Sagittarius?
Oh, yeah.
And you're,
Let's do Cancer first. You're a Cancer, right?
yeah.
Let's do
Um,
Cancer first. I have this mark.
for me, I'll read mine, you read yours.
Okay.
In this time of change, it's understandable that Cancer will want to seek comfort in the familiar people and things, but rid out urges those born under this sign to open their minds and accept that good things may come from unlikely sources. Even if you don't have your things and your people around you in a particular moment, a stranger will do you a kindness. You'll realize you're safe and protected no matter where you go. That's a comforting thought. Be open to the possibilities of new friendships or even someone from your past who may make a surprising appearance. Here's the best way to do it. Taborn explains that Cancer is ruled by the moon and has a lot to do with food and nourishing yourself. Host a cookie decorating party complete with contest and tasting components. Deck out the kitchens with sprinkles, icings, and sweet supplies.
Yeah.
It's got to be gluten-free.
Yeah, I got to be gluten free. So Sagittarius, and if you were born between November 22nd and December 21st, you're going to be a Sag. So Sages are wanderers and seekers and that kind of people. They like to learn, and so for a Sag, the solstice is a time for decisive action. So if you've been wishing for something for a while, the wait's over. Here we go. Now it's the time when you can do things for yourselves that others don't do. So it's okay to step in and take over and do it to get it done. Sages don't like to sit around and wait for somebody else to hand them what they want. So they just go out and get it. And I'm really bad about that. Like I would see something that I want, it'd be in December and I go out and get it. I'd get into so much trouble. Why are you doing that? You're going out and you're buying yourself things, and I was going to get that for you for Christmas. So yeah, it can be a problem. It can be a problem. So because we like to travel, doing things like scheduling weekend trips with friends is always a good thing to do. And if nobody wants to go with you, do it yourself. I used to do that all the time. I went to Greece for a month all by myself. Somebody was supposed to get with me, and the last minute they punked out. And so I said, well, I'm going anyway, because I traveled all over Greece for a month, sola. And boy, it was an interesting experience. It makes you befriend people and talk to people when you're alone. So, I would pair up with people and we do different things together. So if you can't get anybody to travel with you around solstice time, go on your own. It's a good thing to do. And if you're somebody who's busy working and you think you deserve a promotion, it's time to talk to your boss about getting paid for all the responsibilities you take on at work. And dining and good food is a Sagittarian thing as well. Sagittarians like their food and their wine.
Good. We'll have a time where we can actually have some great food.
Yeah.
And celebrate your birthday. All right, dear.
Thank you, Michelle. This was really fun.
What do you want to talk about next week?
I don't know. Maybe we should ask people to comment on what they'd like to hear about, what they're interested in, or what maybe somebody has questions about something, because you're a metaphysician, you're a teacher, you offer classes. It might be a good time for people a new year coming up. Maybe they want to step into that Ballywick and learn more about metaphysics. So maybe some people can leave us some comments and questions about, well, what is metaphysics? What you teach when you do metaphysics? Maybe we can talk about that, because we have a bunch of stuff coming up next year. And one of them is what you're going to be doing with your courses. So maybe we should talk about that.
Or something. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So are we going to do this every Monday, or are we doing it every other Monday? Are we doing it once a month? Every Monday?
Every Monday.
Okay.
We're going to build up a opportunity for people to come in and be what where they can feel safe in asking questions.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So we'll have to watch the comments and see what people come up with. So next week will be a surprise. You have to tune in for the surprise to see what it is.
I agree. All righty, dear. My heart to yours.
Right back at you.